All right, we are live.
Right, we're live. How's everybody doing? I wanted to jump on, bring you a quick article. Our internet is currently cooperating, so this should be relatively decent quality. We've redesigned the studio a little bit. We're trying to improve things. Starlink is en route, so that should be a permanent improvement here soon. The internet challenges have been manifold lately, but I wanted to jump into this article, and it's by Jim Munford. He does have a YouTube channel, Lonesome Lands. He writes different articles about agriculture and about ranching. He is a rancher. He's somewhere up in like Idaho or Montana. But we've done some watch alongs with him before. He's got a lot of great information. Lonesome Lands, you can check him out he's on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. I follow him on Twitter. But he recently, just a couple days ago, posted an article, and I wanted to read through this because we broach and address this topic a lot, and they keep trying to systematically erode and undermine our infrastructure and our ability to grow our own food, eat our own food. And he really does a great write-up. His article is called "The Attack on Farmers and Ranchers That No One Is Talking About." So he quotes John Kerry. Let's see, John Kerry.
You're right.
Yeah, that John Kerry. So agriculture contributes about 33% of all the emissions of the world. And we can't get to net zero. We don't get this job done unless agriculture is front and center as part of the solution. You just can't continue to both warm the planet while also expecting to feed it. It doesn't work. So we have to reduce emissions from the food system. And now you understand the push for bugs and all these things, because the long-term game plan is to completely eliminate meat and maybe even all agriculture. There was Sean Baker was debating this insane vegan that literally wanted to wipe out all the animals as well. He had ethical problems with the way animals eat each other in the animal kingdom. Yeah, it's very interesting.
It sounds like a vegan.
Yeah, sounds like vegan philosophy there.
So, veganism.
In September of 2022, the U.S. without congressional approval or oversight, announced they were spending $3.1 billion to implement partnerships for climate smart commodities project. This money has since been handed over to some of the country's largest agricultural corporations, associations, and universities. Some of the notable payments are $90 million to ADM, $95 million to Iowa Soybean Association, $60 million to Nature Conservancy, 27 different universities with payments ranging from $4 to $80 million. These are 123 total listed as lead partners. But if you read the description of the program, you will find other major partners, which include every major company in the food business from Cargill to Costco. The most distinguishing, it's called pay to play.
Yeah.
And so to get you to conform, you get the gov bucks, and that's why you will conform. And that's why you will damage your market share, hurt your market share. That's why you will even shift from one segment of the economy to another segment of the economy. If you think of Samuel Morris, the cigarette company, they got whacked with all those cancer judgments and all those big payouts. So what they did immediately is they shifted their resources to buying these big manufactured food companies, and then they set their scientists to take all the research that they were doing in making cigarettes more addictive and put it towards food. And that's when they came up with like high fructose corn syrup and all these other cool things. But that was Samuel Morris. So that's the kind of stuff that's happening. That's why you have even like big oil investing in renewable energy and all these different things. The most disgusting payment of all was $40 million to the largest ag media corporation, Farm Journal. Why would the government pay a media company $40 million to implement an environmental program? Control the messenger, control the message, aka state-run media, aka propaganda. The message that the U.S. does not want told is that the intended goal for the Climate Smart project is to manipulate farmers and ranchers into calculating their greenhouse gas emissions, or what they call implementation and monitoring of climate smart practices, so that those emissions can be regulated. And when you think regulated, think more along the lines of taxed to death or restricted so heavily that you can't function, because that's what regulation amounts to.
Yeah.
The other thing that regulation amounts to is it completely usually destroys competition and the little guy. It allows the mega national transnational corporation to thrive and to club you over the head like a real kind of RoboCop police state kind of dystopian future scenario. So how we got here in March of 22, the Securities and Exchange Commission, there you go. So now you got these stock markets getting involved on it, announced plans to force all publicly traded companies to submit an ESG report. ESG stands for Environmental Social Governance. It is a program designed by the UN and implemented by the world's largest investment firms. It is a program designed to create a partnership between the government and corporations to control the lives of citizens through the guise of environmentalism and equality. And also, while doing so, ignoring China and India. You know, like, did someone say China?
China. I have to have my China. China.
Yeah, and ESG completely ignores China and India. It ignores the gross pollution of the third world and, you know, the Anglo-American establishment that set up the great tragedy and hope that is China, that is the model of, you know, what's going on. The SEC's proposed ESG reports would consist of 3 scopes. Scope 1 is reporting the greenhouse gases the company emits. Scope 2 is reporting the greenhouse gases that come from the energy the company uses. Scope 3 is reporting the greenhouse gases of your suppliers and your customers. And this is how they're going to, by proxy, destroy the little guy. You know, calculating the greenhouse gases of your suppliers and your customers. Oddly enough, the pushback did not come from the fact that this is a complete and total overreach of the SEC's power. The pushback came from the fact that Scope 3 would force small farmers who supply publicly traded companies to calculate their greenhouse gases and submit their own report, something they were unprepared to do. Yeah, they don't have the ability, infrastructure, tech. They don't have the overhead that's required to do these forests of a calculations. These calculations aren't even real.
They're so made up.
5 months later, in September of 22, the U.S. announced their partnership for climate smart commodities projects. These projects center around the implementation and monitoring of what they call climate smart practices, like planting cover crops or rotational grazing. The projects, of course, they're going to be veneered with these talking these talking points that are going to sound like regenerative agriculture and all these things, but they have no desire for anybody to do anything regenerative or anything like that. It's all about control, and it's all about dismantling of our food system, and it's all about the complete destruction of food sovereignty. And so that's what's going on. And of course, they'll use their code language. The projects all have tech partners that have apps that focus on storing and sharing data. Conveniently, each of these projects focus heavily on monitoring. Conveniently, you know, we all sacrifice our freedom at the altar of convenience.
Mm.
We all sacrifice our freedom, our sovereignty, our anonymity. We all sacrifice that at the altar of convenience.
Yeah.
For example, the Farm Journal Project's monitoring highlights are very similar to all the others, and they read, the project plans to have conservation agronomists verify GHG outcomes. It goes on saying project partner Trimble will be responsible for using the Comet Planner. And of course, there's all these acronyms, right? Because there has to be acronyms. It's going to use the Comet Planner tool to qualify, monitor, report, and verify greenhouse gas benefits. Trimble is a tech company that specializes in collecting and sharing data. Sounds like Palantir. The Comet Planner tool was developed by the USDA and Colorado State University to provide estimates of carbon sequestration for common conservation agricultural practices. So if you were a government official who wanted to track farmers and ranchers' greenhouse gases and then force them to adopt certain conservation practices, whether they could afford these practices or not, then these projects could be exactly what you would need to get the ball rolling. Now, we talk all the time about parallel economy, parallel community, and now you're seeing why, because of this attack, right? And what they're doing and restricting access and making it harder and making it more expensive and all these things. But one thing we have to start talking about too is, you know, all these agencies have all these jackboots that work for them, whether it's the USDA, whether it's whatever agency, this enforcement agency, that enforcement agency. And, you know, as a society, we should start, you know, tax collectors were despised for a reason. And a lot of it was because, you know, they would not just collect the taxes, but they would extort people and stuff their pockets. And a lot of these people that are going to be collecting this data and enforcing all of this technocracy, they're culpable. You know, you don't get the brown shirt excuse like, I'll just do my job in circles of power.
I was just following orders.
They said push the red button, and I pushed the red button.
Yeah.
I didn't know people died and all this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and these people should be held accountable. And so what we have to do, you want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem, right? So if you have this kind of position and maybe you have a pension or whatever, and you're going to put your 3 more years in or whatever, you know, you should really quit and at least like deliver pizzas or Grubhub, get an honest job, right? And because first off, you're not going to change any of these technocratic sledgehammers. You're not going to change them from within, you know, and unless you want to poison the matrix or something, I don't know. I just don't see it happening. And so if you're going to participate and be on their dole and all this other stuff, like, you are the problem. You are facilitating the problem. You're part of the problem. And you can't just say, well, you know, this started out with like a good premise and all this stuff, because this is exclusively nefarious. All this greenhouse stuff is like P data mining shenanigans, and they got to clamp it down and ratchet it up, because they know that in the next 5 years, none of their prognostications, like New York City's never going to be underwater, Florida's never going to be underwater. This stuff is not happening. This is not even, we cannot perceive it because it's not happening.
Yeah.
And even though people want to regurgitate this stuff, you know, and at the same time, while saying that, we as a family participate in composting. We participate in permaculture and sequestering carbon. If it's even like, I know that sequestering carbon is a thing, but if it even does anything on a large scale, like if it even affects, sequestering carbon even affects the overall environment in any type of positive way, who even knows?
It's all made up.
Yeah, it's all scientism, and it's all Gaia worship, and it's all about control and wealth redistribution and manipulation. And the people that either got picked on in high school or whatever, and that's another reason why you should get your kids out of government schools.
Yeah.
Because government Prussian schools create good Prussians for cogs in the statist, technocratic, oligarchical machine. And so I don't know if these kids got picked on at school or whatever. Now they got the tiniest bit of juice and they want to wear you out, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, your fence ain't in the right spot and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's sad, but this is, if we like to eat and we like to eat healthy, decent food, and we want to be able to participate in that process. And, you know, and I say all that to say this, you know, I've been reading through the Psalms and I am incredibly thankful and grateful. And every time I walk outside, I thank the Lord for our lifestyle, our life, our property. But you know what? I mean, if we didn't make a lot of very significant, drastic decisions 10 years ago, like we'd be living in a neighborhood. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yep. And we would probably be growing a little bit of food in our backyard and different things, but we certainly wouldn't have the slower paced lifestyle that we have now. We wouldn't have the dirt that we have. We wouldn't have the critters that we have. We wouldn't have the cows. We wouldn't have the pigs. We wouldn't have most of the chickens. Y'all, our chickens are laying again. We're getting like 26 eggs a day.
It went from zero
back to full blast.
Yeah,
it's kind of hilarious, but but we wouldn't have any of that. And you know, if you wait till all the crazy stuff happens, you've waited. My dad had a great saying. He said, "Wait broke the wagon." And so
that's a good
think
one.
about that. Wait broke the wagon. And so you can wait and wait.
I think we need that on
maybe
a t-shirt.
The Republicans next time. I'll quote Jim Rome. Maybe the Republicans next time. Maybe I'll vote harder next time. Maybe 2024. But the beat goes on.
Yeah. But what about today?
The stuff keeps happening. What about today? And what about tomorrow? What about redeeming the time? For the days are evil. And I do like to eat the food that we grow. And I know what's in it. And you have to participate to take part in that process. So wow, that was a rant.
That was a rant.
Okay. So where was I?
I think
I'm on the Comet Planner tool was developed by the US. Duh. Okay. So here we are, the Biden administration. Oh, good. So the Joe Biden administration has directly said, we have to reduce emissions from the food system. So now they're just saying, hey, y'all, we're attacking your food. You know, we've kind of destroyed the fuel and the power, and we've destroyed the grid. We've effectively destroyed your cars now that you're going to be driving battery powered stuff. So now the next thing we have to do is destroy your food system. Even though God created this food system thousands of years ago, and it has been harmonically living and toiling together with man, you know, that's all got to stop. You know, you shall be as gods. The SEC proposed, and then see how the integration, you got the SEC, you got the US you got Joe Biden and the Mockingbird Media and the Comet Planner that was from Colorado State University. So you got the universities that all schools are government schools, y'all.
Yeah.
And you can think that you're going to Hillsdale or whatever, and maybe you are, and maybe there's something worth something at Hillsdale or one of these others, air quote conservatives, whatever. But if you're going to a college or university, you are in government school.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when you go to Rome and you come out of Roman, you know, don't be shocked. That's all. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. You're going to government school.
It's true.
And it is. You want to know why tuition's so high? Because it's subsidized by the federal government, because they're all in on it and they're scratching each other's backs. and their armpits stink. And the whole thing stinks.
Very true.
So bribing says we're coming after the food. Then the SEC is going to do its part. What the SEC has to do with that. The SEC proposed a rule that would force farmers and ranchers. The Security and Exchange Commission proposed a rule that would force farmers and ranchers. First off, what does the Securities and Exchange Commission know about farming or farmers or anything? It's
nothing.
Antithetical. It is the opposite. There's nothing more synthetic and fake and arbitrary and complete. First off, securities are there is no security.
No.
These, read The Great Taking. It's already taken. And if you're playing in that sandbox, you've already lost. And if you're going to wait for it to happen, if you're going to wait for it to materialize on your computer screen or on your monthly statement, you're dumb and you've been asleep and you lose and it's your fault. Okay. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. So this SEC proposed a rule is going to, now the SEC, who can't even stop all these market crashes with their plunge protection and everything, now they're going to tell farmers what to do.
Oh, good.
Even though the stock market is a dumpster fire, right? And even though Sarbanes-Oxley and all their fake, just ask Richard Grove, okay? The SEC proposed a rule that would force farmers and ranchers to report their greenhouse gas emissions. Then the USDA just so happened to spend $3 billion. The USDA just so happened to spend $3 billion to get corporations and ag associations to convince farmers and ranchers to help them develop the tech that would make it convenient. Forge your own chains, y'all. Make it convenient and easy to report greenhouse gas emissions and measure the greenhouse gas reduction of some practices. And if you want to know why the Republicards and the Demlicans are the same and the two same wings of the same dumb bird, is all of these idiots vote this stuff, and then their transnational corporations write this code and they do all this stuff, and it happens uncontested, unresisted, and that's how we have it. And you can vote harder next time, but this is what we got.
Yeah.
Parallel economy, parallel community, parallel society. You're going to have to grow your own food. You're going to have to network. You're going to have your own community.
Yeah.
We're going to have to decentralize. I mean, history repeats itself. And when it doesn't, it rhymes. And we've sung this song and we've heard this all before, and we've seen this, and it doesn't work, and to wait for it to all evaporate is just foolish at best and is naive, and it's burying your head in the sand. It's silly. And so this is like a pep talk, y'all. It's like a pep talk. Think of me as Papa TD giving you the pep talk. This is not about climate. This is about freedom. Once emissions are convenient and easy to report, they will be convenient and easy to regulate.
Yep. Very true.
Yeah. What's the harm? The corporations that receive the tens of millions are currently handing out a few crumbs to farmers and ranchers and enrolling them in these programs. The Kool-Aid drinkers that go along with these programs will say, what's the harm? If you're a rancher, what's the harm in signing up for Farm Journal's Trust in Beef program, where they will probably show you how to use the app where you input your data like cattle, rotations, and feed on the AgriWeb. When you sign up, I'm sure you will probably be handed a check and told about the wonderful service you're going to do for your industry, your farm or ranch, and your planet. They will tell you that you will show the world that agriculture can be part of the solution. So what's the harm? The harm comes from giving an administration that is continually blaming agriculture for destroying the planet the tools to regulate you out of business. Literally. The harm comes from when they tell you that what you're doing is not enough. The harm comes from when you get told you need to reduce your herd by 25% in order to do business, to get a loan, or to sell your cattle.
We saw that over there in the Netherlands, and that's what they did.
The harm comes when you realize the system, they're doing this stuff. So this isn't speculation. This isn't speculation. We're watching it. They test balloon it. They roll it out in different markets. This is not speculation. This is conspiracy realism, y'all. This isn't conspiracy theory. The harm comes when you realize the system that you helped create and put in place is the same system that is driving you out of business by design. By design. Wealth transfer. It's going to transfer your wealth. It's going to dissolve and eradicate your business. And when your business is dissolved and eradicated, then your wealth is transferred to the Elon Musks and the Jeff Bezos and the transnational, the military industrial complex, the agriculture industrial complex, and the medical industrial complex. AKA the Gooberman, the state, the beast system.
Yeah.
Where we're headed. To clearly see what reducing emissions from the food system looks like, just look to Europe. Yeah. In the Netherlands, where farmers initially complied with the climate regulations up until they couldn't, then they were told to sell their farms to the Gooberman. Look at France, where last week farmers were spraying manure on government buildings. Now that is a thought. I think that is a great civil. I think that is fruitful. And that manure might even grow something positive.
It might.
They're spraying manure on government buildings to protest the plan to reduce the country's cattle herd by 2 million head in France.
Wow.
Look at Ireland, where the Department of Ag has proposed to kill 200,000 cattle. All of this to meet climate goals. Same thing in Ireland. They proposing the thought police bill again, that if you have any memes or social media, or you read something on social media and it's any type of dissidence, you're going to be an enemy of the state.
You're going to get fined.
It's straight up thought police.
Yeah.
Pre-crime. Unfortunately, this plan has been at work for well over a year now. This summer, the U.S. dropped another $300 million to improve measurements, monitoring, reporting, and verification of greenhouse gas emissions and carbon sequestration. There has been almost no pushback against this, partly because the end goal has been hidden, but mainly because the massive amounts of money pushing it makes people blind to what the end goal is. The money involved is not just the billions from the U.S. but the billions coming from the investment firms that are pushing ESG. These are BlackRock, Blackstone, et al. Fill in the blank. These firms are large shareholders that control every major corporation in agriculture, from John Deere to Tyson Food. They're all in on it.
Yeah.
They are all pushing for it. This means that they control all of ag media and most of ag associations. American Farm Bureau is promoting this program, which means all their state affiliates will be pushing it too. National Cattlemen's Beef Association is, of course, a partner of Farm Journal's $40 million deal. Both associations have state affiliates that have pushed the program down to the countries down to the counties, and already there are many farmers and ranchers who are on board and signed up to participate. If there is to be any pushback at all, it will have to come from those who make up the backbone of the agriculture industry, the small farmers and ranchers whose livelihoods are truly at stake. Stopping this plan will be incredibly hard, next to impossible. I am now writing this with the hope that America's farmers and ranchers will not only stand up to the Gooberman, but also to the largest ag corporations, associations, universities, and media. Odds are not in my favor, but I've always believed that the most powerful word in any language is freedom. And no one loves freedom more than America's farmers and ranchers.
Yeah.
If they can come to see this movement for what it truly is, having nothing to do with climate and everything to do with taking away their freedoms, then I think you might have a chance. But we are going to need some help.
Definitely.
And this is the great taking, and this is completely a wealth transfer and wealth redistribution, because what conveniently happens is after you destroy a farmer or a rancher, they then have usually a large to medium-sized parcel of land that they can no longer pay the property taxes on, because in America, you don't get to own anything. You have to lease it from the state.
Yeah.
So once they abolish your business and liquidate you, and then you can't pay your property taxes, then they take your land for pennies on the dollar. It is wealth redistribution.
Yeah.
Ask the SEC, play around in the stock market long enough, and you've already participated in wealth redistribution. And Elon Musk thanks you. The military industrial complex, thank you. Project Blackjack, thanks you. And I realize I'm getting a Starlink. I understand. It's complicated.
It is complicated.
So I thought that was a great article. I appreciate Jim's YouTube channel, and
definitely
great writer.
We should reach out to him and see if he would want to come on. Come on the podcast,
on the Fearless podcast.
That'd be great.
That's a great idea, Matt.
We should reach out.
Jim an email, and if you know Jim, reach out to him. Let him know that we want to have him on the Fearless podcast. Speaking of the Fearless podcast, we have several interviews lined up, back to back. So if you're not subscribed to the Fearless podcast on your favorite pod player, you should go do that.
Yeah, we're building up some steam over there, actually.
Yeah, and if you are subscribed, you should leave a review, right? It helps, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And tell your friends. But we just had William on. That was great.
That was a great podcast.
We're looking forward to having William in our community. And working together, collaborating.
Yeah,
not just on social media, collaborating.
No, in real life. More than anything in real life.
We're going to be supplying him maybe with some pigs. It looks like, so that's all part of this.
Hard labor too.
And hard sweatshop labor.
Yep. But anyway, y'all go check out TheTexasBoys.com. The Food Force in the Box is still available. We just restocked on all of the honeys too, so you can go check that out. And there's also your teas and your coffees over there, CBD coffee, Lion's Mane coffee, all the good stuff there. So yeah, there you go. And I think that's it. Us boys have been doing some really good work for a lot of the neighbors around here, which has been awesome. We've been able to be a blessing to them. Just updating stuff. We're going to be installing a lady's fireplace, all types of really cool stuff that we've been able to help out around our community. Just wanted to say that to encourage y'all to be a blessing in your community and helping out the elderly. This lady doesn't have a husband, and us boys are able to help her out and get her a wood burning fireplace, which is great.
And when they're busy doing all this productive stuff, we can't produce social media. So if we're on a hiatus, but once we have a better connection, we're stocking up on footage too. So before I go to work in the morning, I'll edit a video and then upload it. And then when I get back from working, then I'll upload it on here. And Psalm 144 came over from the Permaculture Podcast.
That's great. That's awesome.
Thanks for coming over. We appreciate it. Appreciate Billy and everything, and William and everything they're doing.
Gemstone7 said, did anyone see all the chickens they just killed over in Arkansas?
Yeah, they're rolling out this bird flu thing again. So that
really?
was probably a culling. They've been doing this culling.
They love doing that every year.
Yeah.
Every year around this time.
Yeah.
They roll it out and they kill millions of birds. They love it.
And a lot of times these birds naturally just recover from this, and granted, like if you're in some like mega grow house in a dark room and whatever.
Sure. I could totally see that happening.
That makes your chances of recovery abysmal.
Yeah.
But if you're getting sunlight and out and free ranging and at least have room, and
your all free range birds are perfectly fine. Don't be scared about any bird flu. I could totally see big chicken houses getting some type of bug in there and destroying and killing a lot of birds. But
OG, we're wrapping it up. OG.
Yep.
Spread the word. Share this one. I think this is a lot of really great information and
really good article.
Put this on ThemeTube, Rumble.
And the article was written by a rancher, which is great.
His fingers on the pulse. He's doing the do. He's not just talking about it. He's not just commiserating about it or pontificating it. He's doing it. And, lots of great information.
Yeah. And hopefully we can get him on the podcast. That would be great.
Get him on the podcast. And that's a great idea. And we love and appreciate all y'all. Thanks for being on tonight. I hope that our internet connection stayed strong enough so that we had a quality stream here for you.
Hopefully.
It's been a technocratic battle, y'all. I think
every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
It's been a grind. So, all right, y'all. Well, y'all have a great night. This is value for value. So if you appreciate what we're doing, go over to TheTexasBoys.com. The food forest in a box is flying off the shelves. They won't be available forever, y'all. And now's the time to start propagating those trees. So in the spring, you're ready. And maybe your trees will only be for 1 gallon pots in the spring, where you can plant those 1 or 2 gallon pots in the ground, grow out that root structure. So in the fall, that thing's ready to go in the ground. Best time to plant trees right now, y'all.
Yeah.
Fall, winter. That's when they're going to develop the root structure and all that cool stuff. So just saying, y'all, you got to do it before you do it. You know what I mean?
Giving y'all a nudge.
You got to plan ahead. You got to do the baby steps, right? That's what the food forest in a box is. It's the baby steps and things to do to get started, to start practicing and doing. And so that's what this is all about. That's what we want to encourage you to do. And I think that's anything else, Matt, that you can think of. That's it, y'all. That's it. So we'll see y'all in the next video.
All right. See y'all later.
All right.